Community goals. What don't I like in this game feature? It's not like it's Navy rank system or power play. What could be so wrong with it? Just like in archaeology, if you dig in the right place for long enough, you'll uncover some fossilized corpses. Well, okay, the idea of community goals is decent, and sometimes it can even be good. You put up a goal invite for players to do this one thing for a week, or until the goal is met, and then reward them accordingly to their contribution. All that might sound great to some. And you'd be right by thinking the same. But you see, there's also a downside to this game feature that perhaps doesn't get talked much. And that's the overuse of this feature. You can even say that CG is a good idea, but just like with a condom, you can only use it so many times. Now currently in game we get about 2 community goals every week that lasts a whole week. Okay, sounds good. But if you play this game for more than a month or 2, the concept of CG loses its novelty. After all, the worst thing you can do to a good thing is to make it mundane and common. And the same goes with CGs. Over time you just look at them and think, another small faction needs something. Screw them and the money, I think I've had enough and I just want to do something different. Well, on one hand, even as a mundane thing, CGs are good for new players to earn money. But when it comes time for devs to move the story in-game forward, announce or release something new, their go-to solution is almost always to use CGs to do it. Like right now, we just got done doing the 4th Aegis initiative to get the last piece of anti-Targoid equipment. And as I looked on the turnout for the thing, well, it was in the sad state, to say the least. People just get bored by taking part in these CGs. They really aren't that special anymore, so why bother, right? In the same way any other CG is approached these days by the majority, and then when something new and exciting is supposed to come out, it just gets this lukewarm reception, and so you wonder why this happens. It also doesn't help that devs seem to be too lazy to think up another way to make some plot relevant things happen in the game that would involve community without using CGs. See, I get it, CGs are relatively simple to make and it also involves the community fairly easily. But when you use it to do everything, well, it becomes really boring over time, which is the greatest downfall of this once novel idea. Oh, and speaking of lazy, you remember the E3 of 2017? Do you remember the CG that was announced for unknown ship signature data? Well, that particular example is a great one. It shows that a rushed and barely thought out idea can be easily put in game. See, this particular CG was probably the stupidest thing I saw that week, and that is the E3 week. How sad is that? Okay, let me explain. Issue number 1. It felt like, and later in Frontier Expo, I partly confirmed that it was rushed. And issue number 2. This CG relied on something in-game that can only be received by an extreme fellatio for the RNGesus. Oh, and also here's a bonus issue. By putting up this CG, devs basically asked people to try and repeat the wonderful, beautiful looking and sounding Targoid encounter, making this wonderful thing mundane. So do you remember what I said about making things mundane? If you think about it, this was a special occasion, so obviously people being very curious about it flocked to the new CG. And what did CG force them to do? Go suck on RNGesus cock. Also, yes, I said force them. See, the thing is, most people don't want to be left out of the new thing, and so how could you not go and take part in it? Oh, but no, the special event feels like some sadist lottery. It's simply disgusting. Back in Frontier Expo, while talking to devs, I did ask, who was the idiot who came up with this CG? Seriously! Okay, while giving some credit here, there was one excuse. This CG was partly designed to allow players to unload the unknown ship signature data that many, including yours truly, were holding on to. Well, that sounds nice, but you realize that it also creates this goal for people who didn't have this data, so they had to try and get it. Even though they stated time and time again they increased the chance, it was still the paint thinner drinking RNGesus that players had to rely on to participate in this CG, and that is just inexcusable. I even remember some players telling me that they spent over 10 hours with no luck on this. Seriously, being a programmer, making a simple algorithm for this RNG crap shouldn't be that hard. Actually, let me do it real quick. So I guess bottom line on my part here is simple. How about taking your time and thinking up additional ways to involve community in plot or special occasion events? If you keep using the same thing over and over, just like using a fish for a cricket bat, don't expect it to stay fresh for long. Get it? Cricket? Cause they're Brits, right? Ah, whatever. Otherwise, the more you keep using it, the more you're sending us the message that whatever the need is for something to happen in-game, you'll use that one-trick pony as you can't be arsed to think up anything new. And, you know, for some reason the phrase dead horse comes to mind. I don't know why.